I make sure to have bone broth in my fridge at all times because I have lymphocytic colitis. Hi there, welcome to episode 17 of my chronic illness journey. My name is Shay McIntosh Ford and I live in Tulsa with my husband, our 2 boys, and our little puppy. I was diagnosed with lymphocytic colitis last April following my bout with COVID-19. This is primarily a vlog about how the lymphocytic colitis affects my day-to-day life. But before I start my vlog, we're going to go through the recipe of the week. And this week we are making beef bone broth. In the vlog, I record what I eat and when. And I drink only water, homemade bone broth, and my body allows me to have a single teacup of coffee every other day. And it's black coffee, no sweeteners, nothing in it. I would like a cup of coffee every day. My body doesn't seem to like that. And occasionally I will drink a glass of organic, no sulfite added wine. And this is specifically because I'm in too much pain to go to sleep. But I can only drink 1 glass. And I drink the Cabernet so that there's less sugar in it. And because colitis is an irritable bowel disease, I do talk about the more unpleasant parts, which specifically is every time I have to go to the bathroom and not for pee, because that can sometimes be more than once a day. This week wasn't too bad though. When I do have a bad trip to the bathroom, I take a gluten-free version of Imodium and Pepto-Bismol. Bismuth tablet tastes a little sweet to me, so my running joke is every time I have to take it, it turns into a different dessert. I think I only had to do that once this week though. That's good. Diet most certainly matters with this condition, and I'm trying to figure out what works for me. So far, a very strict carnivore diet definitely works. The coffee and the wine those are the only plant products that I consume. I have to severely limit that. Most general carnivores will eat dairy and eggs and pork and chicken, but I can't eat any of that. I have been able to branch out to fish. I've been eating some salmon with good results. I tried sardines this week and I'm not quite sure about them. I think I might have reacted, but it could have been other factors. If you suffer from colitis, I hope that something that I do or say here might help you, give you some ideas and inspiration. So first we're going to go into how I make my homemade bone broth. Like in the previous episodes, I am sorry I cannot get the background music to work with the voiceovers, but that's not as important as the recipe itself. After the recipe is finished, we will go into my vlog. Today we're going to be making beef bone broth, and the first thing you do is set the oven to 350 degrees. And my foil is over my pan to spare you the stains on it. I have washed my hands and dried them with paper towel to reduce the risk of cross-contamination with gluten. And when I put the foil on my pan, I like to leave a big flap on the side like that, so that I have a place to grip the pan with the pot holder. Otherwise, I could risk contaminating the beef bones. So if it looks a little strange the way I'm holding my bag is because I didn't want to have to wash my hands again, but I'd forgotten to cut open the bag. So I'm leaving one hand open so that it's clean and not touching anything so that I can grab the bones with it. And I just lay them out on the pan in a thin layer, single layer. You always have to also be careful not to accidentally rip the foil with the bones. Sometimes it happens. And you pop them in the oven. And we set the timer for 20 minutes, counting down. And then after 20 minutes is up, you take them out. And I use just a knife and fork. And you're going to want to flip them. Each one needs to be rolled over And you have to be careful because it will stick to the foil, so be very gentle because it will tear the foil, and you'll see why you don't want to tear the foil in just a minute. Make sure each one is flipped just once, and I use a clean paper towel to set my knife and fork on because I'm going to be using them again. And they go back into the oven, and it is very heavy, so sometimes I have trouble. And we put them in for another 20 minutes. Counting down. So they've roasted for 40 minutes, and now it's time to just pop them right into the Instant Pot. So I take my knife and my fork, and very carefully, the big ones are the hardest because they're the heaviest, and drop it in. And I'm going to speed this up a little bit, but I'm going to pause here in a minute and show you something. This particular batch of bones was kind of cool because right here I had about 3 of them. See that circle in there? That's bone marrow. And there's about 3 of them in there with some bone marrow, so that's nice. I don't always get bone marrow when I roast the beef bones for my broth, so that was a nice surprise. And now I'm going to grab a soup spoon, and I'm going to scrape as much of the bits off as I can, and there's going to be some soupy fat that came off the bones too. And this is why you don't want a hole in your foil, because you want to spoon all of that off and put it in the pot. If I didn't have to worry about gluten, I would just pour it in from the side of the foil, but I'm always worried about the end of the foil having touched gluten, so I try to keep it in the middle as much as I can. And I'm going to scrape the extra little black bits off and put them in there. And move my pan out of the way. I'm going to put some pink Himalayan salt in there as much as I can. I basically just keep going until my hands are too tired. And that is the fill line. It's the maximum fill line. So I'm just putting water, and that's it. And I'm going to put it all the way up to the maximum. And I get the lid on. And I'm going to pressure cook, and I'm going to move the setting to the low setting. So you always want to do it on low, and I'm going to bump it all the way up to 3 hours. And it has taken about 6.5 hours for everything, but now you can see that little red thing is down. It's been naturally releasing for 1 hour and 43 minutes. So I'm going to take the lid off. And I got my big ladle. And I've also got a filter. So this is for the days where I want to fast. I don't want any protein bits in there if I'm fasting. So I'll leave, there's no way to get the fat off until it cools. But I want to eliminate the protein bits, so that's why I use the filter. And you just fill up the jars. I get about 12 jars every time, but here I'm only going to be able to fill 13 or 11 of them. And I'm putting the lids on. I wash my lids every time, like right before I put them on. That's why I'm only doing 2 at a time. Because I hand wash them before I put them on the jars. And now I have one last jar, but I can't quite get all of the broth out, so now it's time to get all of the bits off. So I've shaken off what was filtered, and now I'm going to take everything else off. But the first thing I'm going to do is pick out the bones that have the marrow. So that has a bit of meat on it. This is what I love about the pressure cooker. The meat just falls right off. Some of the beef bits I have to scrape off. Depends on the kind of protein that's stuck on the bone. But here I'm taking my knife and just kind of scraping the inside to get the marrow out. And it just slides right on out. Like that. And it is slippery. It's kind of hard to deal with a knife and fork, but that bone is hot, so I'm not going to touch it with my fingers. And the easiest way just to deal with the bone is just stick the knife in and go over to the trash can and throw it away. And I'm going to scrape the rest of the marrow and fat in. It was easier than trying to get it out with a fork and knife. So I'm going to do it again. There's some more marrow and another one. I think that was it. There might have been one more, but I think I didn't get it to the end. This is by far the most tedious part of making the bone broth, is getting all these fatty bits. There's some like really white slimy parts. I hate to say it's slimy, but it is. And it makes it really tricky to get off of the bones. But it does make for great nutrition, and I mix it with the ground meat so that it's not just these slimy bits and meat and fat. It's well worth the effort. It makes for multiple meals of good nutrition. So now I have filled it up. That's about 6 meals worth of bone broth bits. 3 cookings. Each cooking will give me 2 servings. So when I section it out, I will have as many as 6 meals there. So this part, I have requested the help of my son because I need someone to hold the filter while I pour out the rest of the bone broth, because my ladle is too big. So he's gonna hold it for me so that I can just pour it in. And I'm going to have a little bit more than what will fit in this jar. But he goes ahead and pours the rest of the little bits into the container for me. He wasn't sure if he should. So I'm just gonna, there's just a little bit left. I'm gonna go ahead and pour it into this bowl. It's just a little bit, so I'm gonna drink it right then and there. And I'm going to go ahead and cover up my beef bone broth bits. Sometimes if I'm going to be cooking them, I will just go ahead and use them straight out. Otherwise, I just go ahead and put it away. Get my last jar of broth closed up. And I don't put them in the fridge right away. I let them cool for about an hour. And there's my bone broth. Good morning. It is Sunday, and you know what that means. Liver. This is in ghee butter. I didn't have a reaction yesterday with the extra coffee, so I'm gonna have coffee again today. Just 1 teacup. I am glad that I'm drinking my coffee with food because it definitely tastes better with food. I just love it that way. And there's just something about it, especially with liver. It's really good with liver and butter. I guess I'm skipping my coffee tomorrow. London fog. If you don't know what London fog is, it's like an Earl Grey tea latte, but they put a lot of sugar in it. It's pretty sweet. Time to eat. Sorry for, wow, that sun is super bright. You can't even see my hand. I'm gonna eat and it is the last of the beef tongue. It looks like a small amount, and it kind of is, but it's also a big plate, and there's a lot of butter. I should be satiated. No more issues yet today. I was pretty crampy in the early afternoon, but that seems to have subsided, so hopefully I won't need any wine tonight. At this point in time, I don't. So, good morning. Time for breakfast. I'm gonna have some salmon, and the skin stayed on this time, which is good because I eat the skin. And sometimes salmon isn't quite enough. It's awfully small. Recently, I saw a video from Dr. Ken Berry. He said that sardines are good. I got these. He said they're one of the least inflammatory of seafood fish. This is just the empty box. I got the can right here. This is not the brand that he recommended because he recommends you get the wild caught and that it has the skin and the bones and that it's in water. I think this is a good one. I think it has the bones. I know it has the skin. I can see the skin on the picture. I had to look it up in the reviews. Someone asked if there were bones in it. They said yes. So we will see how I do with the sardines. I actually like sardines, but you definitely don't want to get sardines in oil because the oils are inflammatory. Even olive oil, like real olive oil, is fine. I've been seeing a lot of reports of real olive oil being adulterated with other oils, which is inflammatory, and I have had that problem in the past where I've gone to a restaurant and they said, oh yeah, it's olive oil, and I had a reaction. This was with keto because I can't tolerate vegetable oils. They trigger inflammation, first of all, but the first thing I feel is intense nausea. So yeah, no vegetable oils for me. Time for dinner. This is ground bison with beef bone broth bits. The fat in here is a blend of tallow discs from the bone broth jars and ghee butter, but it was also a tallow, like a tallow disc. It was a ghee disc, I guess, from the oxtail. I just put it all in the same thing. That's what's for dinner. I haven't been feeling all that great. I've been a little crampy this afternoon. I took some Tylenol and it didn't seem to help, so we'll see how I'm doing later on. Hopefully I won't need wine. It's not too bad at the moment. I don't know, we'll see. Good morning. Time for breakfast. Ground bison with beef bone broth bits. It's still the mixture of ghee and tallow discs from the bone broths. It's a coffee day. I still wish I could drink it every day. I might get there. Keep saying that. I was really crampy last night, so I did need wine. This morning, about 5:30, I had a BM, but it was almost normal. I didn't bother recording until just now. I don't know. Hopefully I'll be okay today. I'm volunteering all day for Charlie's school. They're doing one of those business town things where the kids go and run the businesses for the day, which is fun. I did that when I was in the 5th grade, and William did it in the 5th grade, and I volunteered for that, sort of. I didn't actually volunteer. That was the year that William had been hospitalized for flu A. That field trip was like right after he was released from the hospital, and the doctor said he can only go if you go too. So that's why I was there. But it was fun. I'm looking forward to enjoying this with Charlie today, so I don't have to run to the bathroom. All right, time for dinner. Tonight I'm having salmon. When I finish eating the salmon steak, I'm gonna put the sardines. This is ghee butter that it's sitting in, so I'm gonna add the sardines to the ghee butter. I'm doing okay. I was really nauseous earlier. I don't think it was the food. It was Charlie's school function thing, and there was one student who just refused to do any of the work. It was a lot of commotion. I'm an introvert, and it was just a lot of noise and movement. I'm feeling a little better. I'm not as nauseous. It was just a lot. I just needed some quiet for a little while. Hopefully I'll be okay through the evening. I have a feeling they're gonna call a snow day tomorrow because we're supposed to get a lot of ice and snow tomorrow. Good morning. I'm still in my PJs because I don't have to take the boys to school this morning. They're doing distance learning because it's a bad weather day. But at least it's not a full-on snow day. It's distance learning, so they'll be busy. It's Wednesday, which means liver in ghee butter. I'm feeling much better today. I was so tired. I went to bed early. I went to bed at like 8:30 last night. I was just really exhausted from the activity of the day. I'm doing better now. I am still in my PJs. We went nowhere, but I might go see if I can go to yoga tonight if the roads aren't too bad. It's not a lot of snow, it's a lot of ice. But it was definitely ice because you could hear it falling. I'm going to eat in case we do yoga, or I do yoga. We're gonna try to get the boys to the gym too because they have some physical exercise requirements for Boy Scouts. I'm eating early so that my food has a chance to digest before the yoga class. Ground bison with the beef bone broth bits. And this is in ghee butter, but it's probably gonna be another 15 minutes before I can eat it because I just finished cooking it, so it's super hot. I'm doing okay. I might try to push myself to do a little bit more writing after I'm done eating. I am almost done with this book, and I really want to get it done before the end of the month because there's not a scholarship, but like I guess a scholarship. I don't know how to describe it. I can't remember what it's called, but it's like a publishing incentive from these couple of writers. They're giving away $1,000 to 5 writers fantasy writers specifically, who are ready to publish their book by the end of this month. At least have a completed book by the end of this month to publish. So that would be nice because I could really use that money. Self-publishing is not cheap. Good morning. I did not go to yoga yesterday. It was canceled. I thought about trying Pilates today and I registered for the class, but then that was canceled. But I was pretty crampy last night, so I did have a glass of wine. It's a coffee day. Probably should have had coffee yesterday because it's been a few days since I've had a BM. Maybe that's what I'll do is when I go several days without a BM, if I'm crampy, I should just go ahead and have coffee. That would be nice. Here's my breakfast. Ground bison with beef bone broth bits, definitely no beans, in the ghee butter. So this is the second bowl of what I made last night. When I make it, I make 2 bowls. I have enough for 2 more bowls, and then after that I think I'm gonna make an arm roast. Trying not to get stressed out. Don't like the news right now. Hopefully it doesn't affect too many people too badly. Things are not good in the world. In my body I'm okay. Still trying to figure things out. I wish I was back to normal. I don't know that I'll ever be there. It's better than it was before I started carnivore. So I just had a BM and it was almost normal. No anti-diarrheals today. It wasn't quite normal, but I just don't need the medications. Hopefully it stays that way. Time for dinner. I'm going with salmon in ghee butter. And it's stuck to the pan again, so half the skin fell off. At least it's there, I'll eat it anyway. And I'm gonna add the sardines to it. I'm doing okay. Actually, I'm doing pretty good because I'm getting a lot done. I got 3 writing sprints in, completed all the pages of one of my notebooks, this main notebook that I've been writing in, filled all the pages up, got some dopamine in me for that. On to the next one till I finish my book, and I'll have more dopamine for that. I also get a shot of dopamine whenever I run out of ink. Go on to the next pen. Nice way of making me progress a little further. Good morning. The sun is actually out, but I'm still in my PJs because the boys are still distance learning anyway, and I don't have plans to go anywhere until about 10:30. I will get dressed later, but it is time for breakfast. It's really full. Ground lamb with beef bone broth bits and ghee butter. I have a training session with my personal trainer. Hopefully I won't be so sore. It was weird. Last time I thought I was going to be sore the next day, but it was the day after that. Hopefully I'll also be able to do some kind of yoga or Pilates. I've never done Pilates before. I think it's a low, non-cardio exercise thing. I'll have to double check. As long as it's not cardio, I think I can handle it. I think cardio is where I struggle with my symptoms. Time to eat. So it's the last of the beef bone broth bits with ground lamb and ghee butter. I'm going to be feeling my workout because it was working different muscles. Right now I'm just really tired. I actually struggled with my writing today just because I was so exhausted. I feel like I could have taken a nap. I didn't. Maybe I should have. I'll just go to bed early. No cardio. I mean, there's a little bit of cardio. It was mostly just working my muscles. I'm tired, but I'm gonna go ahead and eat. And then we gotta go to Costco and I'm gonna go to bed. I just realized that I'm wearing a red t-shirt. It's not the same red t-shirt I wore to sleep in. It's a different t-shirt. This is not a PJ t-shirt. The other one is 20 years old. This one, only a couple years old. I did change out of my PJs Good morning. Quite late because my fish wasn't quite thawed out because that's what I'm having for breakfast. Salmon in ghee butter. Again, apparently my pan, I don't know what it is. Sometimes it sticks and sometimes it doesn't. All the skin came off because it stuck to the pan. I'm having that with sardines. I've got a coffee day. Yeah, I had to wait for the salmon to thaw out. I put it in the fridge too late last night and it was still slightly frozen, so I'm doing good. Kind of sore, but not as sore as I should be. I'll probably be very sore later. So I just had a teeny tiny BM. Obviously it wasn't normal, but it wasn't watery either. I sat there forever waiting for more and nothing happened. A little frustrating. I just wish my body was normal. It would be nice to be normal. Time to eat, and I might not eat all of this. I don't think I will. It's an awfully big piece. It's arm roast, and there's also a little blob of bone marrow right there. I've been editing my video for this week, and I realized I'm having some issues right after having eaten the fish. I don't know if it's the sardines or the salmon. I think it's the sardines, but it could also be the exercise. I don't know. Right now, I'm feeling okay. I'm having some spasmy pains, sharp spasmy pains, not the general cramping that I normally have. I might need wine tonight. We'll see. I'll take some acetaminophen and we'll see how I do. And I'm going to leave it here. I hope I've helped you. If you have any questions or comments, please don't hesitate to leave those down below. I will link to any resources that I find helpful. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you next week. Bye. A gluten-free version. William, stop it.